When you were a kid, summer vacation felt like a whole lifetime. Now you blink, and somehow it's October, your phone needs another update, and the holidays are already being advertised. So here's the uncomfortable question. Is time actually speeding up, or is your brain quietly editing your life into shorter and shorter highlight reels? The answer is weirdly comforting and a little alarming. Time isn't moving faster. But your experience of time is being shaped by memory, attention, novelty, routine, and even basic math. And once you understand what's going on, you can actually make life feel a little longer again. Let's start with the simplest explanation, because it's the one most people have heard. Proportion. When you're 5 years old, 1 year is 20% of your entire life. That's huge. It's like a massive chunk of your existence. But when you're 50, 1 year is only 2% of your life. Same calendar year, totally different mental weight. So a year feels smaller partly because, compared with everything you've already lived through, it is smaller. Your brain isn't measuring time like a clock. It's measuring time against your own personal archive. And the bigger that archive gets, the less space each new year seems to take up. But proportion isn't the whole story. If it were, every year would feel smoothly and predictably faster than the last. That's not really what happens. Some weeks vanish, some afternoons drag forever. A boring meeting can feel longer than an entire vacation, so there's clearly more going on. The next piece is memory. Your brain doesn't record life like a security camera. It doesn't save every second in equal detail. It compresses, filters, deletes, and organizes. And when you look back on a period of your life, your sense of how long it lasted depends a lot on how many distinct memories your brain stored. Think about your first day at a new school, your first job, your first trip to a foreign city. Those days often feel long in memory because everything was new. New layout, new people, new smells, new rules, new tiny problems to solve. Your brain was working hard, and hardworking brains leave more footprints. Now compare that with an ordinary Tuesday where you woke up, checked your phone, did the same commute, answered the same kinds of messages, ate something forgettable, watched something mildly entertaining, and went to bed. Nothing wrong with that day. But your brain doesn't need to store it as a detailed episode. It's too similar to 100 other Tuesdays. So it gets compressed. And when enough days get compressed, whole months feel like they disappeared. That's one of the big tricks. Time can feel normal while you're living it, but short when you remember it. Routine doesn't always feel fast in the moment. Sometimes routine feels slow, even painfully slow. But later, when your brain asks what happened in March, and the answer is basically work, errands, screens, sleep, it collapses that month into a tiny mental folder. Childhood feels long, partly because childhood is loaded with firsts. First bike ride without training wheels, first sleepover. First time you realized adults don't know everything. First time you got in real trouble. First crush, first heartbreak. First time a song felt like it was written specifically for you. As you get older, there are fewer automatic firsts. Not because life becomes empty, but because your brain has categories for more things. New restaurant? It's kind of like that other restaurant. New coworker? Sort of reminds you of someone else. New problem? You've seen a version of it before. Experience is useful, but it also makes the world feel less surprising. And surprise is one of the things that stretches time. There's also attention. This one is brutal because it means some of the speeding up feeling is self-inflicted. When you're fully paying attention, time has texture. You notice details. The color of the sky before a storm. The exact rhythm of someone's laugh. The way a room sounds after everyone leaves. But when your attention is split, time gets blurry. Modern life is basically a machine for splitting attention. You check a message while watching a video while eating lunch while half thinking about tomorrow. Your brain is technically experiencing all of it, but not deeply encoding much of it. It's like trying to take photos while running past everything at full speed. Later, you scroll through the album and wonder why there are only 3 usable pictures. This is why a phone-heavy evening can vanish. You didn't do nothing. You did hundreds of tiny things, but they were fragmented, repetitive, and low in emotional weight. Your brain doesn't turn every scroll, tap, and refresh into a meaningful memory. It bundles them together as phone time. And phone time is where hours go to become missed. Now, there's another layer. Prediction. As you age, your brain gets better at predicting what happens next. That's one of its main jobs. It builds models of the world so you don't have to process everything from scratch. If you've walked into your kitchen 10,000 times, your brain doesn't need to examine the cabinets like it's arriving on another planet. It says, yep, kitchen, moving on. This efficiency is amazing. It's why you can drive a familiar route and think about something else. It's why you don't get overwhelmed by every chair, doorway, and street sign. But efficiency has a cost. When the brain predicts well, it pays less attention. When it pays less attention, it stores less. When it stores less, time feels shorter in hindsight. So the older you get, the more of life your brain can run on autopilot. And autopilot is useful, but it's terrible for making days feel memorable. That's why travel often feels like it expands time. You're forced out of prediction mode. You don't know exactly where the grocery store is, how the subway works, what the neighborhood sounds like at night, or which little decision is going to matter. Your brain wakes up. Suddenly, 3 days can feel like 2 weeks, because each day is packed with new maps, new errors, new textures, and new stories. But you don't need to fly across the world to get that effect. Novelty can be small. Take a different route. Cook something you've never made. Talk to someone you usually avoid small talk with. Learn a skill where you're bad at the beginning. Change where you sit. Go outside at a time you normally don't. Your brain doesn't need constant drama. It just needs enough freshness to stop compressing everything into the same file. There's also an emotional side to this. Big emotions slow time down in memory. Joy, fear, embarrassment, awe, grief, love. These moments get tagged as important. That's why you can remember one intense conversation from years ago more clearly than an entire ordinary month. Emotion tells the brain, keep this. This matters. But adult life often rewards emotional flattening. Be efficient, stay professional, keep the schedule, get through the inbox, handle the logistics. And after a while, days can become less about vivid experience and more about maintenance. Pay the bill, answer the email, refill the thing, clean the thing, fix the thing, repeat. That doesn't mean adult life is doomed to feel like a loading screen. It means you have to be more intentional about creating moments that your brain thinks are worth saving. One practical way is to make more endings and beginnings. Kids have built-in chapters: school years, birthdays, holidays, grades, teams, camps, firsts. Adults can drift into one long, continuous hallway. Same job, same apartment, same apps, same patterns. Without chapters, memory has fewer dividers, and years blur together. So create chapters on purpose. Start a 3-month project. Make a seasonal ritual. Take one photo every Sunday in the same place. Keep a tiny log of 1 sentence per day. Plan something specific for the end of each month. These aren't just productivity tricks. They're memory anchors. They give your brain handles to grab when it looks back. Another way is to pay attention on purpose, even briefly. You don't have to live like a monk. Just pick small moments and actually be there for them. The first sip of coffee, the walk from the car to the door, the minute before you open your laptop, the sound of your kid telling a story, the exact feeling of stepping outside after being indoors all day. Attention is like increasing the resolution of your life. Same amount of time, more detail inside it. And yes, boredom matters too. We've gotten very good at deleting boredom. Every empty line in the day gets filled with a screen. Waiting in line, elevator ride, red light, bathroom break, 2 minutes before a meeting. Gone. But boredom gives your brain room to process. It lets experiences settle. It creates contrast. If every gap gets filled, life can become one continuous stream of stimulation with very few clean edges. And without edges, memory gets slippery. So the goal isn't to make every day exciting. That's exhausting and honestly, impossible. The goal is to make days less identical. A meaningful life still has laundry in it. It still has forms and dishes and weird calendar invites. But if every day has the same inputs in the same order, your brain will do what brains do: compress. This brings us to the strangest part. The feeling that time is speeding up might actually be a signal. Not that you're old, not that you're failing, not that life is over. A signal that your brain isn't getting enough novelty, attention, emotion, or structure to mark the passage of time clearly. And that's something you can work with. You can't slow the clock. You can't make a year last longer on the calendar, but you can make a year feel fuller in memory. You can give your brain more scenes instead of loops, more firsts, even tiny ones, more attention, more chapters, more moments that don't instantly dissolve into the background. So the next time you catch yourself saying, "How is it already June?" don't treat it like a joke you can't do anything about. Treat it like a reminder. Break the pattern somewhere. Add one new detail to the week. Pay attention to one ordinary thing like it's not guaranteed. Make one memory that doesn't look exactly like the others. Because time doesn't just fly when you're having fun. Time flies when your brain has nothing new to hold on to. And the older you get, the more important it becomes to give it something worth holding. If this made you think about time a little differently, stick around. The next thing you learn might be one of those tiny markers that makes today easier to remember.